Hello everyone and welcome to Great Games Before Your Time. This wasn't even a game that I was even going to stream. However, one day when the family was over and I was talking to my nieces and nephews, my sister pops out, "Oh, are you going to do Dino Riki?" And then my nieces and nephews were all like, "What? Dino Riki? That sounds cool. Will you stream it?" I'm like, no, this game is horrible." And my sister said, "But you were playing it all the time." And my response to that was, yeah, because I wanted to beat it. So I've shown this off before, but here it is again. I have the physical card. So this was one of many Nintendo games that were given to us, and I have this passion of, hey, I like to try to finish things. I like to complete things. And so I had beaten other games, like for example Mario Bros, and so I attempted many hours, many days, months, years maybe, to try to beat this game. Obviously never could as a kid because it is extremely difficult, and at the same time it's also extremely unfair. The game essentially is a vertical scrolling game in which it's very slow, snail pace, slow scroll, and at first the enemies start coming down, and then within like about 10 seconds, instead of going from one enemy shooting at you that you have to dodge, you suddenly have 50 enemies, and basically that pace is maintained through the entire game. So just to explain a few of the level mechanics, you start with the weakest weapon, which is rocks, and then if you can gain the fist power-up icon, you go up a level as far as firepower. So beyond rocks there are axes, and then beyond that you go up to boomerangs, and then if you get one more you're at the ultimate weapon, which is the fire. If you can get that, that's essentially the goal of the game. Get the fire power up and basically don't die. And the frustrating thing is every time you take a hit you actually go down a level. So for example, if you have the fire weapon you go back down to the boomerang, and sometimes you absolutely need the fire weapon in order to be able to, say, advance effectively, unless you have like godlike task skills or something like that. This game only comes with 3 tile sets, and there are 4 levels total. Now, as far as levels 1, 2, and 3, if you like one-shot them, you will only ever see on your little screen level 1-1, level 2-1, level 3-1. Those are actually all split into 4 quarters, and if you advance far enough, like for example if you reach the second quarter of level 1-1 and die, you will actually be respawned in level 1-2, which is basically just the second quarter of the first level. Level 4 is composed of 4 separate stages, no quarters. All of the level 4 courses are your all-stars sort of special Kaizo difficulty level courses, in which the developers purposely use all of the in-game mechanics to make a ridiculously difficult experience. Now I know you've probably heard of popular IPs that are out of the 80s, like for example Metroid or Mario or The Legend of Zelda, but you've probably never heard of The Adventures of Dino Riki, and honestly there's a really good reason for that. So as an example, since Mario is so popular, I don't have to explain what mushrooms do or flowers do or what anything does, because really this has been used for decades and people know and understand. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to kind of explain the various power-ups here. As we're going along, we might see little flowers. If we shoot those, they will turn into various collectibles. So for example, the fist power-up boosts our firepower. The little boot icon makes us faster, which honestly I kind of have a rant about that in itself. It's something that I always tried to avoid as a kid, because when you get going too fast it becomes hard to control you and you might accidentally run super fast into something, like for example a one-hit KO pit or a one-hit KO flame, or you might accidentally run off the cliff and die. But honestly you need at least some semblance of speed, because if you are moving the slowest possible speed, it's actually very difficult to do much in the game. If you collect enough diamonds, you get an extra life. Not that it matters much because the firepower is the most important thing. If at any point you die, you actually restart with the weakest weapon, rock. So essentially, no matter how good your run is, if you take damage or if you die and are reduced to the rock weapon, your run's almost basically over. Again, unless you have some inhuman godlike task skill. There's a few other less common icons. The heart adds to your health and the meat is supposed to add to your energy or something. But it's all about the firepower in this game. There are a few other icons that are always hidden secrets. They don't come from flowers, they're a hidden tile on the screen, which are the star, which destroys all enemies on the screen, which incidentally, if you already have the most powerful weapon, fire, and you collect another fist icon, it does that exact same thing. It destroys all enemies that are on the screen. The second hidden item is the flying bird icon. If you can create that, Dino Riki grows wings, and then if you press and hold the jump button, you can fly. However, that is a double-edged sword because even though you're avoiding obstacles on the ground, such as cliffs and whatnot, it causes more enemies to spawn in the air. The frustrating thing about that is even if you get a flying wings, any hit you take will take that power-up away from you. And honestly, I don't even mind games that force you to become dodge masters. I mean, that's kind of fun in itself, but the thing is, this game is so unforgiving. Like, for example, I can probably beat level 1 and level 2, but in level 3 it starts to add things like enemies coming and attacking you from the bottom of the screen, which if you don't have that memorized, you might get hit really unfairly and it's going to ruin your entire run. And considering it takes about 4 to 5 minutes to beat one single level, if you get cheaped out and die on, say, level 3, you've essentially wasted anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes of your run and have to start all the way over from the very beginning. So unfortunately, the game's extremely strict, unforgiving difficulty curve disallows you from ever actually practicing and getting good at platforming. So take, for example, Super Mario Bros. You can essentially practice to your heart's content on level 1-1, accomplishing something simple like jumping over a bottomless pit. And in fact, that game even has those practice stairs where there's not a bottomless pit underneath it, so you can practice jumping over this obstacle without the threat of death. Now, this game might claim to do the same in our first level. There is a section where you can jump from these lily pads, but honestly, it's better to just fly over them. The sad thing is, what makes this game ratchet up the difficulty even more is that you cannot shoot through various obstructions. So like, for example, jungle trees, buildings, rocks, mountains, can't be shot through. However, enemies can not only go through these, but they can also shoot through them. This leads to some really ridiculous, difficult level 4 areas. So for example, even though all of the level 4 sections are on the short side, they're extremely difficult to play. Level 4-1 requires you to go through this very serpentine jungle area in which basically you can't shoot any of the enemies coming at you. So you have to become a dodge master. So what are the rules to this playthrough? Well, the deal is, if I were to be playing this completely legit on original hardware, I would be able to log at least 50 hours and probably only reach level 4-2 if I could even get there. So I will start from the beginning and play completely legitimate up until my first game over, at which point I will then allow myself to make save states but at the beginning of every level. So for example, if I make a save state at the beginning of level 3-1, I have to play the entire level 3 before I can make another save state. Similarly, I have to play the entire level 4-1 before I make a save state at the beginning of 4-2. And just like I did in my Zelda Ocarina of Time series, I hid a lot of Majora Mask Easter eggs in it. Well, one Easter egg that I will hide in here is, as per the instruction manual, all of the bosses, such as the Cobra, the Pterodon, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it also hints about this Triceratops. It says the Triceratops is the toughest enemy in the desert. It will try to block you with giant flames. So the goal in life is to see, can you spot the Triceratops in this playthrough? So I hope you enjoy watching me play through this game, in which I will probably spew out profanities, rip out my hair, and slam my various controllers into the TV.